The day I found the house missing. Yes, the entire house. I felt something inside me fall so hard it almost took the floor with it. That's the only sentence I remember whispering when the truth sank in. The rest of the world around me, cars passing, birds on the wires. Even the wind felt like it stopped. Just long enough for the ache to settle into my bones. And when that deep, hollow stretch of silence filled my chest, I knew my life had just changed forever. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the morning it all began. It was a Thursday, too warm for October. The kind of day where the sun hangs low, but still insists on touching everything like it's midsummer. I was standing by the stove, flipping Chloe's cinnamon pancakes, her favorite, while she hummed something she learned from a cartoon. Jason was rushing around the kitchen, still tying his tie, mumbling under his breath about an early meeting. And our old refrigerator made that soft rattling sound it does when it's about to cycle back to life. It was ordinary, familiar, safe. Life before the storm. Mommy, can I take 2 pancakes? Chloe asked, her curls falling into her eyes as she leaned forward on her elbows. You can take 3 if you promise to actually eat them, I teased, placing the warm stack on her plate. She giggled, the sound like a tiny bell in the morning air. Jason kissed her forehead, then brushed a quick kiss across my cheek. I'll call you on my break, he said. And don't forget we need to stop by Mom's this weekend. She wants to talk about the old house again. I remember pausing, the spatula still in my hand, the smell of cinnamon rising softly. The old house. His grandmother's house. The one she left to Jason. The one she said she wanted kept in the bloodline. The one Patricia insisted was a burden. The one I loved more than my own breath. Jason slipped out the door before I could ask what she wanted now. I tried not to think much of it. I had work to get done. Laundry to fold. Chloe to take to school. Life doesn't give you space to tremble when it wants you moving. Still, something in Jason's tone that morning unsettled me. Soft. Careful. Too careful. Like he knew something I didn't. But life went on, and I tucked the thought behind the mental list of groceries and school pickups. By early afternoon, I was driving past the old Monroe property, the house left by Jason's grandmother, a ritual of mine whenever I took the long way home from errands. I liked to see it. Untouched. Quiet. Waiting. Its porch paint was peeling. The shutters slanted just a bit. But to me it always looked like history. Like memories trapped in wood. Jason and I had always talked about renovating it one day. Maybe when money wasn't tight. Or when Chloe was older. Maybe for holidays. Or maybe just because it felt good knowing a piece of the family's past was still standing. But that day, the day that changed everything, I slowed the car when I saw something sitting in front of the house. A sign. A big, red, blaring sign in the yard. At first, I didn't believe it. I actually laughed under my breath, thinking maybe it belonged to a neighbor's house. But when I rolled down my window and stepped out into the warm afternoon air, the truth hit me square in the chest. The sign was planted right in front of the Monroe family home. My legs tingled, my fingers went numb, and a deep heat rose into my neck. There was no mistake. Our house had been sold. I stood there for maybe a full minute, frozen, the dry grass crunching under my shoes as I walked closer. My mind kept repeating the word, sold, 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 like a drumbeat that wouldn't stop. I dialed Jason immediately. He didn't answer. I called again. Still nothing. Something inside me shifted from confusion to fear. The kind of fear that makes your heartbeat sound like footsteps in an empty hallway. I tried one more time. This time, he picked up, but his voice didn't sound like my husband's. Liz, I'm in a meeting. Can I call you back? No, I whispered, breath trembling. Jason, the house. The old house, it's been sold. Silent. Cold. Heavy silence. Jason. I could hear him swallow. Let's talk about this later. Okay? Later. He wanted to talk later. That was when my knees nearly buckled, because the only reason a man asks to talk later about something this big is because he already knows what you just found out. And he didn't want to hear the pain in your voice while someone else could hear his. I stood outside that house long after the call ended, staring at those wooden steps I used to sit on during summers, watching the place that held a century of Monroe stories, birthdays, deaths, wars, marriages just waiting for its new owner like nothing had happened. I didn't cry that day. That surprised me. Instead, something inside me went quiet. Code. Resolute. Because deep in my bones, I knew one thing. Jason didn't do this alone. No, this had Patricia Monroe written all over it. That evening, after I picked up Chloe and set her up with crayons at the kitchen table, I sat on the edge of my bed, fingers trembling, waiting for Jason to come home. When he finally walked in, his shoulders sank like he had been carrying the weight of the world. Alyssa, he began softly. Please, listen. Who sold it? I asked. You? Or your mother? His eyes closed, and that was all the answer I needed. Not the words, not the excuses, just that small, defeated gesture of a man caught between guilt and fear. My breath left me in one uneven exhale. Jason, how could you? I didn't want to, he said, voice tight. Mom said. His voice cracked, and that was when my heart broke in a new way. Not because the house was sold, but because my husband, my partner, had been pulled into something deeper, something he was terrified to admit. Alyssa, it's complicated, he whispered. No, I said, rising slowly. It's betrayal, and the trembling inside me hardened into something steady. I promise, I would find out everything, every lie, every document, every hand behind the deal, and I would not go quietly. Jason sat down on the edge of the bed like his legs couldn't hold him anymore. He looked smaller than I had ever seen him. His shoulders curled inward, his hands rubbing anxiously over his knees. For a moment, I just watched him, really watched him, because sometimes you learn the truth not from a person's words but from the spaces between their breaths. Your mother pushed you into this, I said quietly. He didn't deny it. He didn't defend her. He didn't even try. That silence was confirmation enough. I walked to the window, letting the streetlight spill into the room. Outside, a dog barked somewhere in the distance. Inside, the air felt thick, as if the house itself was listening. A long moment passed before he finally spoke. Alyssa. Mom said the taxes were too high. She said we couldn't afford to keep it. She said Grandma would have wanted us to be practical. I turned sharply. Patricia said that, not you. He swallowed, the tendons in his neck tightening. She told me the family needed stability, and when Brooke decided she wanted to move back here, Mom said. My chest tightened. Brooke? What does Brooke have to do with this? Jason hesitated. Jason, I warned. Tell me. He exhaled like a man caught between two burning walls. Mom wants Brooke to have the house. She said Brooke deserved a fresh start. So she sold our inherited house. I cut in. So your sister could move into a different one? Jason lifted his palms in a helpless gesture. Not exactly. She sold it to get the funds to make a down payment on a new place for Brooke. Something bigger, newer, more fitting for a young woman starting over. Her words. A laugh escaped me, a bitter, stunned sound that didn't feel like it belonged to me. So the house your grandmother specifically left to you is gone, just so your sister can have a nicer home? She's been going through a lot, he started. We've been going through a lot, I snapped. We're the ones raising a child. We're the ones working long hours and saving bit by bit. And that house, Jason, that house was our security, our heritage, our daughter's future. I wasn't yelling, but my voice carried years of memories, dreams, sacrifices, every inch of a life built with careful hands. Jason's eyes shone, though he blinked hard to hide it. I didn't know what else to do, Alyssa. Mom made it sound like it was the only responsible choice. His mother, always his mother, always that soft, coaxing voice of hers, wrapped in sweet words that concealed the thorns beneath. I sat beside him, though not too close. Jason, did you sign anything? He didn't answer right away. He didn't need to. My stomach dropped. You signed it, I whispered. You signed the papers. His head lowered, shame sinking into his posture. I didn't want to lose the relationship with my mom. She said she'd never forgive me if I stopped her from helping Brooke. And what about me? My voice cracked softly, painfully. Did you think about the relationship you'd lose with me? His eyes lifted, desperate. Alyssa, please don't say that. Then tell me the truth, I said, steadying myself. All of it. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, face in his hands. Mom handled everything with the realtor. She found the buyer. She brought the papers. She even told me where to sign. I didn't see any of the money she said she was holding it until the bank cleared Brooke's mortgage. My chest constricted. Patricia had the money. All of it. That explained everything. Her sudden expensive wardrobe. Her new car. Her trips to visit friends out of state. It all made sense now. I rose from the bed, feeling something cold and sharp settle inside me. I'm going to her house, I said quietly. Jason looked up quickly. Alyssa, please. Not tonight. Tonight, I repeated. Before she has the chance to twist this any further. He stood too, trying to take my hands, but I stepped back. I need answers, I said. From her, not from you. His face fell, hurt flickering across his features. Do you want me to come with you? I shook my head. No. I need to hear her lies without you softening them. And I walked out before he could protest. The night air was warm as I drove, but inside the car, a chill crept over me. Police sirens wailed faintly somewhere in the distance. Street lamps stretched shadows across the pavement. My fingers tightened around the steering wheel until they ached. When I reached Patricia's house, the porch light was on, casting a warm glow over her perfectly trimmed hedges and clean welcome mat. It irritated me, the neatness, the order, because nothing about what she had done was neat or orderly. I rang the bell. She opened the door almost immediately, wearing a soft, practiced smile, as if she had expected me. "Alyssa," she said, her voice smooth like warm milk. "Come in, dear. I figured you might stop by." Not a shred of guilt, not a flicker of remorse, just that calm sweetness she always used to get her way. I stepped inside, the faint smell of lavender and lemon polish lingering in the air. "Where's Brooke?" I asked bluntly. "She went out," Patricia said. "Is something the matter?" I stared at her. "You know exactly why I'm here." Her expression didn't change. If anything, she softened it, her favorite manipulation technique. "Ah," she sighed. "You drove past the house today, didn't you?" My heart thudded in my ears. "You sold it. You sold a house that wasn't yours. And you roped Jason into it." Patricia walked to the counter and poured herself tea with the gentleness of a saint. "Jason is my son," she said simply. "And he wanted what was best for the family." "Not for our family," I shot back. "For Brooke." She sipped her tea calmly. "Brooke is blood. She's been struggling. She needed that start more than you two needed an old, crumbling house." My nails dug into my palms. "You had no right." She lifted her chin slightly. "I had every right as the matriarch of this family." The matriarch. That word slapped something awake inside me. I stepped closer. "Where's the money, Patricia?" Her eyes flickered. "Just a flicker, but enough." "You're overreacting," she said smoothly. "The money's being handled responsibly." "By you?" I asked. "Of course," Jason agreed. "He agreed," I said. "Because you forced him." Her smile tightened, just slightly. "If he didn't sign, Alyssa, I would have gone to court. And you know as well as I do that you have no claim to that house. Not legally." My breath caught. There it was. The threat she had dangled over Jason. Not said outright, but implied just enough to scare him. I felt heat rise into my chest. "You manipulated your own son." "I guided him," she corrected. "No," I whispered. "You betrayed him. And me. And Chloe. And the family she pretended to hold so dear." Patricia set down her tea and folded her hands neatly. "The decision has been made. The house is gone. And I suggest for everyone's sake you learn to accept it." My voice came out low, steady, and nothing like the polite daughter-in-law she was used to. "Patricia, this isn't over." For the first time all night, something in her expression shifted. A crack, a warning, because she realized I wasn't walking away quietly. Not this time. When I walked out of Patricia Monroe's house that night, the air felt different, sharper, colder. Like the world had shifted into a place where the lines between right and wrong were no longer blurred, they were carved deep and unmistakable. I didn't slam her door. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't let her see the anger trembling in my bones. But she saw something else. Resolve. The kind she wasn't expecting from me. I drove home in silence, watching the lights blur softly through my windshield. For a moment, I wondered if I was being rash, if I was letting emotion pull me into a fight I couldn't win. But then I thought of Chloe, her tiny pink backpack by the door. Her drawings of our future house, scribbled with purple windows and crooked hearts. And suddenly, everything was clear. This wasn't about a house anymore. It was about our future, our dignity, our family's truth. When I stepped inside our home, Jason was waiting at the dining table. His elbows were propped on the wood, hands clasped, eyes dim with worry. "Alyssa?" His voice was soft, small. I closed the door behind me and took a breath before walking toward him. "I talked to your mom," I said. "I know everything." He rubbed his face, sighing. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Liz." "Sorry won't bring the house back," I replied. "I know." His voice cracked. "I know." For a moment, neither of us moved. The only sound was the faint hum of our refrigerator cycling on again. "Where's Chloe?" I asked. "In her room," he murmured. "Drawing." I nodded. I didn't want her hearing any of this. "Jason," I said, lowering myself into the chair across from him. "We need to talk about what happens next." He leaned back, eyes closing for a second too long. "Alyssa, I don't want to fight with my mom." "This isn't about fighting," I said. "This is about justice and legality." His eyes opened, filled with fear. "Legality?" I nodded slowly. "What your mother did wasn't just manipulative, it might have been illegal. You inherited that property. She had no right to sell it." "She pressured me," he whispered. "I signed because I didn't know what else to do." "That's exactly why we need to see someone who does know what to do." His brows knit together. "A lawyer?" "Yes." He swallowed hard. "Alyssa, If I go against my mom, you're not going against her, I said. You're standing up for your daughter. For us. His gaze softened at the mention of Chloe, but fear still clung to him like a shadow. Mom will never forgive me. I held his hand, squeezing gently. Jason, she already betrayed you. You're just choosing whether or not to let it destroy us too. He lowered his head. When he finally nodded, it was small, but real. Okay, he whispered. We'll talk to someone. That tiny surrender felt like the first crack of dawn breaking through a heavy sky. We sat in a modest law office on the second floor of an old brick building downtown. The carpet was worn, and the smell of coffee hung in the air. The attorney, a calm, middle-aged woman named Miss Keaton, flipped through the documents Jason had brought. She didn't say much at first. She just reviewed the papers quietly, marking notes with a blue pen. Jason kept tapping his leg nervously. I reached out and placed a hand on his knee, grounding him. After nearly 10 minutes, Miss Keaton finally set the papers down and looked at us. My first question, she said, is simple. Jason, did you want to sell the house? Jason shook his head immediately. No, absolutely not. Did your mother pressure you? Yes. She nodded thoughtfully. And did she present herself as having authority over the property? Yes. She said it was a family decision. Miss Keaton leaned back in her chair. Well, I'll tell you this. The sale may not be valid. If you inherited this property solely, and there's evidence of undue influence, coercion, or manipulation, there are grounds to challenge it. Jason blinked. Challenge it? How? Potentially reverse the sale, she said. Or seek damages. Or both. Jason's face twisted relief mixed with dread. My mom will never forgive me. Miss Keaton gave him a level look. Your mother manipulated you into signing away something that wasn't hers. Forgiveness should not be the priority right now. I could have hugged that woman right then and there. We can begin by requesting all sale documents, she continued. We'll also send a formal inquiry to the realtor involved, and we'll need to track where the funds went. Jason's breath hitched. My mom has the money. Miss Keaton didn't even flinch. Then she'll need to account for every dollar. A wave of something like justice swept over me. Quiet, steady, righteous. Patricia Monroe might have been the matriarch, but she wasn't above the law. When we got home, Chloe was sitting on the living room floor, building a castle out of blocks. She looked up with a bright smile. Mommy, Daddy, look! It has a big door. Jason knelt beside her instantly, heart softening in that way it always did. It's beautiful, sweetheart. I watched them for a moment, my little family feeling both fragile and fierce at the same time. We had a hard road ahead, a road that would pull secrets into the light, a road that would drag our private pain into public spaces, a road that would definitely anger Patricia. But it was the right road, and I was ready to walk it. Jason looked up at me, eyes searching. What now? I took a breath. Now, Jason, we tell your mother what's coming. His face paled. You want to confront her? Again? No, I said calmly. This time, you will. He swallowed hard. She won't listen. She doesn't need to listen, I replied. She just needs to know that we aren't afraid anymore. His jaw tightened. It was the first time I'd seen a spark of strength in him since the whole ordeal began. He nodded. Okay, I'll talk to her tomorrow. I smiled softly, encouraging, steady. I'm proud of you. He didn't say anything at first. He just reached out and held my hand tightly, as if anchoring himself to me. That night, after Chloe was asleep, we sat together in the quiet. No yelling, no bitterness. Just two people trying to build something honest out of what had been broken. And for the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. Fragile. Yes, but real. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a minute. I lay awake listening to Jason breathe beside me, wondering how a man could sleep so peacefully while the ground beneath our life was splitting open. I kept seeing Patricia's face, the cold defiance in her eyes, the way her lips curled like she was proud of what she'd done. Morning came like a slap. Jason stretched, blinked twice, and said, "Morning, babe." Like everything was normal. Like his mother hadn't just detonated a bomb inside our marriage. I stared at him. He must have felt it, because he slowly sat up. "Alyssa, please don't start this again." I laughed. I actually laughed. Start what? Asking why your mother stole my family's legacy? My children's inheritance? He rubbed his temples. You're being dramatic. That word broke something in me. Dramatic. Women are always dramatic when men want them quiet. I stood up from the bed. You know what's dramatic, Jason? A woman forging her dead husband's signature to sell a property she didn't own. A man standing beside her while she does it. A mother selling her dead daughter-in-law's childhood home like it's a yard sale item. He flinched at that last part, but he didn't deny it. Instead, he whispered, Mom said you twist this. I froze. Mom said, what? He swallowed, looked away, and that told me everything I needed to know. She had gotten to him. She had poisoned him. She had turned the one person I trusted most into a weapon. Mommy, where are we going? She asked, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Just for a drive, sweetheart. I didn't pack much, just essentials and her favorite pink blanket. I wasn't planning to run. I was planning to think, but before leaving, I opened the back door where the swing still hung, twisted from last night's storm. I let my fingers touch it. That swing was my childhood, my mother, my father, summer nights, fireflies, safety, everything Patricia didn't understand. Or maybe she did understand and that's why she wanted to destroy it. The moment she saw me holding Chloe, her face fell. Oh God, what happened now? I didn't mean to break. I didn't want to. But the second her arms wrapped around me, I let everything fall out of me. Tears, anger, fear, everything. Brooke listened silently, jaw tightening with every detail. When I finished, she grabbed my hands. Alyssa, this isn't just a mother-in-law problem anymore. This is a legal problem. A criminal problem. I know. You need a lawyer. I can't afford a lawyer right now. Brooke shook her head. You don't need to. Because you're going to call Dad's old attorney, the one who handled your inheritance. He won't charge you, not after what Mom and Dad did for him. Me heart kicked. I hadn't even thought of that. I was so overwhelmed I'd forgotten I had people in my corner. People who loved me without conditions. Unlike Jason, unlike Patricia. The phone rang twice. Alyssa? The familiar voice said, I was wondering when you'd call. I froze. You knew? I knew something was wrong. The county notified me when someone attempted to request a copy of your title documents. I reached out to Jason, but he never answered. My chest tightened. Jason knew. He had known. And he still slept beside me last night like everything was fine. Come to my office, the attorney said. Bring every document you have. We're going to fix this. Legs crossed, drinking my coffee, like she owned the place. Jason sat beside her, pale and tight-lipped. Where were you? He asked sharply. We were worried. Worried. Right. Patricia smiled. Too sweet. Too poisonous. You didn't answer your phone, dear. Jason was frantic. I looked at him. You called me once. He opened his mouth, but she spoke over him. Alyssa, darling, you need to stop this nonsense. The house is gone. Sold. Finished. You can't undo it. I stepped closer. Actually, I said softly. I can. Her smile twitched. I met with my father's attorney today, I continued. The sale was illegal. The signature was forged. You are looking at a felony. Jason gasped. Mom, tell me you didn't... Jason, quiet. She snapped. And I saw it. The mask slip. The calm break. The truth leak out like poison. You silly girl, she hissed at me. Do you think a judge is going to side with you? A house your family never deserved? I did you a favor. A favor? I whispered. Yes. She slammed her hand on the table. You were never meant to have that house. My son deserved it. Not you. Not your sister. Not your parents. Jason is the man of this family. And that property should have been his from the beginning. Jason's face went white. Mom, stop, he whispered. But she didn't. She couldn't. She had finally shown who she really was. A thief. A manipulator. A woman who believed I was nothing. I stood there, shaking, and then I said the calmest, coldest words of my life. Patricia, enjoy your freedom while it lasts. Her eyes widened, because she knew exactly what that meant. Not infamy, because 3 days later, and what they told me, changed everything. 3 days after confrontation day. 3 days after Patricia showed her true face. 3 days after Jason wouldn't look me in the eye. My phone rang while I was washing dishes. Unknown number. Normally I ignore those, but something inside me whispered. So I did. Hello? A mal voice respondait. Poli du nerveux. Hi, is this Alyssa Monroe? My stomach tightened. Yes. Who's calling? This is Mark Reynolds. My wife and I. We're the buyers who purchased the Monroe property. My heart nearly stopped. I wiped my wet hands on my shirt, gripping the counter. What do you want? He said gently. Is everything okay? We've been trying to contact your husband and mother-in-law. No one is answering. Of course they weren't. They were too busy pretending nothing happened. What's this about? I asked, voice tight. Mark hesitated. Well, it's a bit complicated. We closed the sale, but when we went to start renovations, the county inspector stopped everything. Why? The title. It came back flagged. Flagged it. That word hit me like a punch. The attorney found inconsistencies, he continued. The signature on the release deed doesn't match the original. So, construction is frozen until someone clarifies who actually owns the property. I exhaled slowly. So the law had caught up faster than I expected. Mrs. Monroe, he went on, can you tell me, did you authorize the sale? No, I said. I absolutely did not. Silence. A long one. Then he sighed. I was afraid of that. I waited, fingers trembling. I'm calling because my wife and I don't want to be involved in something illegal. We're prepared to reverse the sale. Completely. My breath caught. You're willing to give the house back? Yes, he said firmly. We don't want trouble. We just want everything to be done legally. A tear slipped down my cheek. Thank you, I whispered. I didn't even bother hiding the emotion cracking through my voice. But, he added softly, I'm also calling to warn you. I straightened. Warn me about what? He inhaled shakily. Your mother-in-law came to the property last night. My blood ran cold. What? She told us that you were unstable, and that she was the rightful heir. She said you were trying to sabotage the sale. I nearly laughed out loud from disbelief. From fury. That's not true, I said through clenched teeth. We figured, Mark replied. She seemed off, aggressive, almost desperate. Yeah, that sounded like Patricia. But the real problem, he continued, is that she tried to file an emergency request this morning, claiming you had committed fraud, and that she was the victim. I froze. She what? Yes. She's claiming you forced her to sign documents under pressure, and manipulated the ownership paperwork. My jaw hung open. Patricia wasn't just doubling down. She was escalating. She even submitted photos, he added. My pulse spiked. Photos? What photos? Pictures of documents with your name highlighted. Emails printed out. Screenshots. My heart stopped. Emails. No. No. She wouldn't. She couldn't. But Patricia absolutely would. The woman would set the world on fire if she thought it would light her path. I don't understand, I whispered. You need to talk to your attorney immediately, he said. We've already reached out to him. He said he was expecting you. I nodded even though he couldn't see it. Thank you for calling me, I managed. No problem. And Alyssa? His voice softened. I hope everything works out for you. You seem like someone who's been fighting alone. That single sentence cracked something deep inside me. Because he was right. I had been fighting alone. Against Patricia. Against Jason. Against the lies they held together like a shield. But not anymore. Because now the law was involved. Now the buyers were on my side. Now the truth was clawing its way to the surface. Jason stepped inside. He looked exhausted. Defeated. Like a man drowning in water he willingly walked into. We need to talk, he said quietly. I crossed my arms. About what? Another lie? Another excuse? He shook his head. No. I want to tell you what Mom did. The thing she hid from you. From me. From everyone. I stared at him, because for the first time in weeks, his eyes weren't fogged with Patricia's influence. He looked scared. He looked guilty. He looked ready to confess. Jason, I said softly. This better be the whole truth. He nodded slowly. She never wanted us together, he whispered. She never wanted you to have that house. And she was willing to do anything. Anything to stop it. What did she do? I asked. Jason swallowed. Then he said the one sentence that made my knees buckle. Mom forged your mother's will. Jason's words echoed in the quiet kitchen like they had weight. Like the air itself had thickened. Mom forged your mother's will. For a moment, I genuinely forgot how to breathe. I gripped the edge of the counter just to keep myself standing. The refrigerator hummed softly behind us. Outside, a car drove past. Life continued, unaware that mine had just been yanked off its axis. Jason! My voice trembled. Say it again. He closed his eyes, like he wanted to disappear into darkness. She forged your mother's will, Alyssa. The one that gave you the property outright. That's why she never wanted you to see the original paperwork. That's why she insisted everything go through her attorney. My pulse pounded in my ears. I had suspected Patricia was capable of deception. But this was criminal. You knew? I whispered. His eyes flew open. No. He stepped closer, shaking his head hard. Alyssa, I swear on Chloe's life I didn't know. Not until yesterday. I stared at him. Then how did you find out? He exhaled shakily and sat at the table, burying his face in his hands. Mom showed up at my office, he said. She was frantic. She said you were trying to take everything from her. She begged me to back her up with the buyers. My stomach clenched. Jason rubbed his face, exhausted. When I refused, she snapped. Said she did everything to protect our family. I asked what that meant, and that's when she broke. I looked up, eyes glassy. She told me she changed the will years ago. She thought the house should belong to me, not you. She said she was just correcting a mistake. A bitter laugh escaped him, as if she had the right. I felt my throat tighten. Of course, Patricia believed she had the right to everything. She believed she was the axis the whole family spun around, that every decision should pass through her, that every boundary was optional if it got in her way. And the sale? I asked quietly. Jason winced. She told me she only sold it because she saw you start to attach to the property. She couldn't stand the idea of you having something she didn't approve of. I pressed my palm against my forehead, trying to keep myself grounded. And you still signed the papers? I whispered. He flinched like I had slapped him. Yes, he whispered. I did. Because she lied to me too. She told me you gave consent. She showed me a text thread she typed pretending to be you. My breath hitched. She faked texts? Yes. His voice cracked. I didn't want to believe it. I thought maybe you changed your mind. Maybe you forgot to tell me. But Alyssa, when you confronted her, when you told me you never agreed, I knew something was wrong. Silence settled between us. Heavy. Suffocating. I finally sank into the chair across from him. Why didn't you defend me earlier? I asked softly. Why didn't you ask me directly? He looked at me with a pain that mirrored my own. Because I didn't want it to be true, he whispered. I didn't want to admit that my mother would do something like this. And when I'm around her, He swallowed. I shrink. I always have. I turn into someone else. I closed my eyes. I knew. I had watched him become small in Patricia's presence for years. A grown man still looking for his mother's approval like a child waiting for applause. Jason? I said slowly. Do you realize the severity of this? He nodded. She could go to jail, he whispered. And so could I. For signing fraudulent documents. I stared at him. But you didn't know. The law won't care, he said bitterly. They'll say I should have verified with you. That I shouldn't have trusted a third party. He leaned back, defeated. I messed up. I messed up badly. And now you're paying the price. I felt anger and pain twist inside me. But also something else. The tiniest thread of clarity. This wasn't just about Patricia. This was about Jason learning to stand on his own 2 feet. And failing. Again. What did the attorney say? I asked. Jason rubbed his temples. He said the buyers already contacted him. They're willing to reverse the sale, but only after an investigation. They want to know who signed what. My heart pounded. And Mom? I whispered. His jaw tightened. She's denying everything. She told the attorney that you manipulated the documents. She said you threatened her. I stared at him in disbelief. She's framing me, I said numbly. Jason nodded. And she's good at it. She's been preparing, collecting things, screenshotting, twisting your words. I let out a shaky breath. Of course she planned ahead. Patricia never played fair. Then he said the sentence that crushed me. She's willing to testify in court that you abused her emotionally. May have dropped. What? She says you belittle her, disrespect her, undermine her authority. I laughed dry, humorless. Authority over what? My marriage? My life? He didn't answer. We sat together, broken in the dim kitchen. After a long moment, Jason whispered, I need your help. I looked up sharply. My help? Yes. I want to make this right. I want to undo what Mom did. I want to get the house back legally, but I can't fight her alone. He blinked. Jason, after everything? Yes, he said softly. Because without you, I don't know who I am anymore. His voice didn't sound manipulative. It didn't sound rehearsed. It sounded like a man realizing the truth too late. I exhaled, long and slow. We'll talk to the attorney tomorrow, I said. But Jason, I want to be clear. I looked up. I won't protect your mother. He nodded slowly. I know. And if she tries to destroy my name, she won't, he whispered, though he didn't sound convinced. Not if I stand up to her. I met his eyes. Then stand. He swallowed hard, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of something in him. Not weakness, not confusion. A resolve, even if it was fragile. The next morning, everything would unfold. The investigation, the evidence, the public fallout, Patricia's unraveling. But that night, in the quiet house, with our marriage hanging by a thread, I realized something important. Patricia had underestimated me. She thought I'd break. She thought I'd surrender. She thought I'd run. But I wasn't running. Not anymore. This time, I was fighting back. The next morning, I woke up before the Sunday. Not because I couldn't sleep, but because something inside me had shifted. I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't confused. I wasn't waiting for someone to save me, or for Jason to grow a spine, or for Patricia to suddenly become the mother-in-law she pretended to be in public. I was done hoping. Now, I was preparing. By the time Jason came downstairs, I was already dressed. My hair tied back, documents laid in neat stacks on the kitchen table. He paused at the doorway. "You're ready." "Yes," I said. "We meet the attorney at 9. Don't be late." He nodded, swallowing hard. We drove in silence. Not tense silence, just the silence that comes when both people know the next few hours will change everything. When we walked into the attorney's office, he stood from his chair immediately. "Good," he said. "You're both here." He folded his hands behind his back. "This situation is escalating quickly. We need to address it head on." Jason nodded, but I could see the nerves flickering under his calm face. The attorney motioned for us to sit. "I received the buyer's statement," he said. "They are fully prepared to reverse the sale, but that can only happen after we clear your names." He turned to me, "Or specifically, your name, Alyssa." I inhaled slowly. "I understand." He slid a folder across the table. Inside were printed screenshots, Patricia's screenshots. I opened the folder. My hands trembled. I wasn't ready for what I saw, because it wasn't just twisted messages. It was emails. Emails written from an address with my name on it. Emails I never sent. "Alyssa," the attorney said gently, "these messages were provided by your mother-in-law. She claims this proves you intended to deceive her." Jason leaned forward, frowning. "Mom did this. These aren't real." I stared at the words on the page. "Patricia, stop delaying the paperwork. The house is rightfully mine. You're old, you don't need this property. Sign it." My stomach twisted. Another one. "If you don't cooperate, I'll file a restraining order. Don't test me." I felt sick. "She created a fake email account," I whispered. The attorney nodded. "And she used a voice recording app to fake a voicemail that sounded like you threatening her." Jason gasped. "What? Are you serious?" "Yes," the attorney said. "She gave it to the buyers as evidence of your instability." I shut my eyes for a moment, grounding myself. "This is defamation," I said quietly. "And fraud." "It is," he replied. "And because she submitted these falsified documents in a real estate transaction, we can pursue criminal charges." Jason looked torn, pale, shaken. "But me? I've had strangely steady." "Do it," I said. My voice was calm, unshaking. "Start whatever process you need to." Jason's eyes widened. "Alyssa." I turned to him. "She framed me, Jason. She forged a will. She tried to put a felony on my name just to keep control. I'm not protecting her." He swallowed. I know you're right." "Then, Zofta, I just never thought it would come to this." "It's been coming to this for a long time," I said. And that was the truth. Over the next 2 hours, we worked through the real will, the original signature samples, the metadata from Patricia's fake emails, Jason's text notifications proving he never verified with me, the buyer's statement, video footage from the property showing Patricia trespassing, timestamps contradicting her claims of harassment. Bit by bit, line by line, we dismantled Patricia's entire story. By noon, the attorney leaned back and exhaled. "We have more evidence than I expected." "What happens now?" I asked. "We send a cease and desist to your mother-in-law," he said. "We initiate a fraud investigation, and we file a motion with the county to freeze any further action on the house." Jason nodded slowly. "And Mom?" The attorney looked at him with a firm, almost fatherly steadiness. "Unless she backs down now, she will face consequences." Jason's shoulders slumped. I placed a hand on the table, grounding myself. "I'm ready." When we walked out of the building, the sun was bright, too bright for the heaviness inside me. Jason checked his phone. He froze. "What now?" I asked. He turned the screen toward me. It was a text from Patricia. A long one, full paragraphs. My stomach twisted. "Jason, your wife is poisoning you against me. She wants to destroy our family. She tricked you. She tricked me. She tricked your grandmother's memory. If you testify against me, I will never forgive you, and you will never see me again." He read it aloud in a whisper. Then another message arrived. The final blow. "Pick a side. Me or her." Jason let out a slow, broken breath. "I can't believe she's doing this." I watched him carefully. "Because this right here was the real test. This isn't between two equal sides, Jason," I said quietly. "There's right, and there's wrong. She's standing on the wrong side of the truth." He looked at me, really looked at me, and something shifted in his eyes. "I pick you," he whispered. "Not because you're my wife, but because you're the only one telling the truth." For the first time, I felt something warm flicker in my chest. Not forgiveness, not relief, but a sense of grounding. Because finally Finally, the man I married was waking up, not even close. That evening, I walked out onto our front porch to bring in a package. A car slowed to a stop. Then the window rolled down. Patricia. Her eyes were wild. Her hair was messy. Her hands shaking on the steering wheel. "Alyssa," she said through gritted teeth. "What have you done?" I stood my ground. "What you forced me to," I said calmly. "Tell the truth." She leaned forward, anger twisting her face. "You think you can beat me?" she hissed. "You think you can win against me? I built this family. I decide who deserves what." I inhaled slowly. "You committed fraud, Patricia. And you framed me. There's no coming back from that. Herr Liebskerl, you don't deserve that house. You don't deserve Jason. You don't deserve our name." I stared at her, my voice quiet and steady. "I don't want your name. I want justice." She shook her head aggressively. "Then you're going to destroy this family." She spat. "No," I said softly. "You destroyed it the moment you chose control over honesty." She slammed her hand against the steering wheel. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "You'll regret this, girl. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of woman you really are." Then she sped off, and I stood there, shaken, angry, and more determined than ever. Because Patricia had just opened the door to something she couldn't outrun. The days that followed felt like I was living inside a storm. The calm before had vanished, replaced by waves of whispers, stares, and cold shoulders from neighbors who once smiled warmly. The very air around me felt heavy, thick with judgment, suspicion, and the unbearable weight of a family secret spilling into the open. Before I could even prepare myself, the news had reached not only our extended family but also the community. At the grocery store, the cashier's smile was strained, eyes darting away as she packed my groceries. At Chloe's school, other mothers whispered behind raised hands, their voices barely disguised. And worst of all, the hurtful glances from Jason's cousins, who once treated me like family. No return address, just my name scrawled on the envelope in heavy black ink. Inside was a printed article from a local news outlet. "Monroe Family Property Saga. A tale of betrayal and fraud." I read it, hands shaking, as it detailed Patricia's accusations against me. Her version of events twisting my name into something unrecognizable. She called me a liar, a schemer, a greedy woman willing to destroy family ties for money. My chest tightened. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching Chloe play with her dolls, he reached out and took my hand. "Alyssa," he said softly. "I know it's hard." His voice trembled, eyes searching mine. "I'm sorry for not standing up sooner." I squeezed his hand. "I'm not looking for apologies," I whispered. "I want us to be stronger." I smiled faintly, the weight in my chest easing just a little. Our attorney filed a formal complaint against Patricia for forgery and fraud. She responded by filing a counter-complaint, accusing me of emotional abuse and coercion. The court hearings were brutal. I sat in the courtroom, heart pounding as Patricia took the stand. She was cold, composed, spinning lies with practiced ease. Her voice never faltered, but beneath her calm exterior, I saw flashes of desperation. During cross-examination, the attorney presented irrefutable proof. Forensic handwriting analysis, digital evidence of the fake emails, timestamp discrepancies. Patricia's confident mask began to crack. Her answers grew defensive. She stumbled over dates and facts. The judge's gaze hardened. The court ruled in our favor. Patricia was ordered to return the property documents and faced charges for forgery. The buyer's sale was reversed. Our family had fractured deeply. Jason's parents and siblings had taken sides. Many chose Patricia, unwilling to believe their matriarch capable of such deceit. Jason and I faced cold shoulders, missed calls, and silent dinners. "I don't know if our family will ever be the same," he confessed. I nodded. "Maybe it's not meant to be." We held each other, silently mourning the family we had lost, but also recognizing the family we were trying to build. We attended counseling sessions. I focused on Chloe, on rebuilding a home filled with love and trust. And slowly, trust returned between Jason and me. She retreated from the public eye, shunned by many. Her bitterness was her prison. After the court ruling, the house finally belonged to us again, legally and morally. But that victory felt hollow, as if the walls around me had cracked, and the warmth of family had seeped out like water from a broken vase. I woke each morning with a quiet determination, focusing on what mattered: my marriage, my daughter, and my own sense of peace. Jason and I made a pact to rebuild what Patricia had tried to destroy. It wasn't easy. He had to confront the wounds Patricia left, the years of silent control and doubt she sowed between us. And I had to forgive him for his earlier hesitation, for not seeing the truth sooner. It was simple but powerful. Our little family, Jason, me, and Chloe, standing in front of the house. Bright colors, smiling face, I traced the lines with my finger, a small smile breaking through. In that moment, I realized healing wasn't about erasing pain. It was about embracing the future, no matter how uncertain. He learned to set boundaries with his mother's memory and to stand tall in his own right. We went to counseling together, relearning how to communicate honestly, openly. The tension that had choked us slowly loosened. Sharing my story helped me find strength and purpose beyond the courtroom drama. I met women who faced betrayal, loss, and family fights. Their courage inspired me. He took my hand, his voice soft. "We survived this because of you, Alyssa." I shook my head gently. "No, Jason. We survived because we finally faced the truth." We smiled. Two imperfect souls bound by love and determination. Though she faded from our lives, her shadow lingered. But I refused to let bitterness root inside me. Instead, I chose forgiveness not for her, but for my own peace. But more than the bricks and mortar, it's the home we built within each other that matters. Sometimes, the people we expect to protect us are the ones who betray us most deeply. When the ground beneath your feet feels like it's crumbling, where do you find your strength? For me, it was in truth painful, raw, and unyielding. It was in standing up not just for what I owned, but for who I was. And it was in learning that family is not just blood or name, it's trust, respect, and the courage to fight for what's right. If you were in my shoes, would you have confronted the betrayal? Would you have found the strength to hold on when everything seemed lost? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your stories, your struggles, your own battles with family and trust. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you, please subscribe for more real, honest stories from the heart. Remember, you are not alone.